back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Before we get started, I'd like to remind you it's not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. These markets are extremely volatile, so please do your own research and trade responsibly. Alright, boy, did we get some action. And it was nice taking a couple of days off and letting the market play out exactly like we said. And, I don't have to make a video every 15 minutes that's 30 minutes long and live stream and tell you nonstop what's going to happen. I just tell you ahead of time, and then we can just go back and we can see if I was right. So let's do that now.
Basically, getting ready to wrap up this week, and not a lot has happened in these last few days. It's been extremely quiet in the space as far as analysts and as far as movement. Price has been just slowly kind of creeping around inside the zone. I'm going to take it down here. And because there hasn't been a lot of action, it's been very quiet. People can't jump on and talk about nothing after it happens. They got to wait till something happens. So I wanted to get on here before this next big move and make sure everybody sees it coming.
Before the move.
So that you're on the right side of it. So even on like the smaller time frames, the situation in here is looking like real choppy, and I know people are having trouble identifying it and taking into account like the different fib levels and everything. It's very clear to us though that we're basically eating up all the sell orders at these fib levels. It's the 32 and the 0.5, and essentially you can see the purple and blue and how much we've been interacting with those next levels. And if you look right here, they both correspond like almost perfectly at this like 7800 range. And then on the lower side, you've got them at 65, 65, and 62, 37 respectively, and you can see how much they've interacted with them. So if we're going to interact with them again, it would be at that level to the downside, or if we're going to interact with them on the upside, it's going to be right up here where they correspond at 96.44. They basically come back in together again, almost perfectly on the top side here. And that also comes into line with our diagonal yellow parabolic trend line that we broke down from that last capitulation. So that would essentially be like the capitulation down from it, below the green parabolic trend line. Then we find support, move all the way back up, test the yellow parabolic trend line that we broke down from, also test the 618 of the purple fib and the 236 of the blue fib, which also corresponds to the top of the all-time high 20,000, 14,000 top, and then this previous like push-up top here, red diagonal descending resistance line. So we have a bunch of resistance all lined up right here in this exact spot, like perfectly, which gives me like very high likelihood I think that we could get that test up there. Now also inside of this move after that little mini capitulation, we had that blue parabolic trend line. Moved up on that, found support, broke down from it, didn't quite make it back up to retest. And then we started forming this green one here, a little less intense, found support, broke down from it, retest, and now here we are still retesting on it, slowly creeping up with it. As it essentially like broadens, we're ascending, we're going up, and it's getting like a bigger range inside of here. So if we continue to move along in between this green parabolic slope line and the yellow parabolic slope line that we're forming, that would line up perfectly with all those fibs and all those previous like resistance and support lines as well. And then, this is real choppy and it's hard to like identify as far as like Elliott wave or what's potentially going to happen here. But when we broke down from this diagonal resistance that was like kind of stopping us up here previously, and that was like our initial descending broadening wedge like distribution pattern before the dump, now here we are breaking through it after like multiple attempts, and we're essentially eating through all these different sell orders. And I think what's likely to happen is we're going to keep consolidating here at the top of the range, and then finally we're going to break through it and get that big move up here to like 9,700 or whatever, 96.75. It's looking more and more likely. And now again, I'm talking about how choppy this is and how hard it is to identify, and I don't like to use like a ton of fractals, but at times they can be useful because algorithms and bots like often move the market in like similar ways. So you can kind of see if we take our little fractal pattern, and this one was like very clear and perfect and like concise. If we kind of move that over here and kind of look at this a little bit and see how does this sort of line up with the movement that we've had previously. It's not going to be perfect, but essentially you can kind of see like a first wave in here, a third wave in here, and then you would potentially get the fifth wave in here. And now again, it's not going to be perfect, and this isn't like something that you can necessarily trade off of like clearly identifying a pattern or anything like that, but it helps you obviously to see like visually how like a bot or an algorithm is potentially like moving this in that same pattern, but it's extremely choppy, so it's less identifiable. But essentially what it looks like to me is it looks like something basically like where you have like a 1 come through here, either 1, 2, 3, and it's all choppy through here, and then the retrace 4 coming up into here 5, something like that. But I mean, essentially, it looks a little more identifiable if this was just like that never-ending like waterfall of stop loss, like cascading down, and then finally they like cut off Bitmax so it stops and it's able to like catch itself like more realistically. This would be like a over reaction basically. But essentially, you would get like the 1, 2, and then the 3 in this area, 4. So this part's like real choppy and like can't really identify any of it. But I mean, when you look at the actual size of the pattern and then you look at like the corresponding levels and what's identifiable in this situation, I think it's very likely that we're going to come up here. Now, is it possible that we come down first? Yeah, definitely. I mean, staying inside of all this, we could come down as low as like 69.80, dump right at like the end of the day, end of the week, and then get our close like down in here, at that 7,000, and then get our move back up and continue to like oscillate inside this range until we do get to that level there. I think that definitely has a high likelihood of happening, or potential, I should say. I definitely don't want to like rule it out at this point in time, but there's not a lot of like definitive price action that's making this clear, and a lot of the altcoins are just kind of creeping up, which that can be interpreted in many ways. A lot of times that will happen, before a big breakout, and a lot of times that will happen like at the end of a trend. So it can mean literally like two complete opposite things. Because it could be like altcoins basically breaking through their resistance, like that corresponds to Bitcoin before it happening, and then Bitcoin follows, or it could be the opposite, where they basically like false breakout, and then Bitcoin dumps, and then they just dump. But it's very clear on this chart how much we've been interacting with the blue right here, and then also the purple fib level as well. So I think it's very likely that we're going to continue interacting with them as well. So here we are basically at the purple and at the blue. This is the high likelihood area that we would top out and then like sell off to like gain strength before we can get like our next big move to the top. And then also like if you try to do like some fibs inside of this area and start looking at fib retracements, if you count like this point right here as the top, we basically got like the 618 retracement. If you count right in here as the top, we basically got like a 236, almost 382 retracement. So that could be possible. And then if you like went from there and counted in here, that would basically be like a 0.5 retracement in there if you counted that as the top. If you went in here, we could come down as low as like the 618 would be right here at the 6400 range. So we could basically come down there and then come all the way back up. So I think 6400 to the downside is very likely, and we would likely find support right there. But it could stop as high as 65.40. But this area right here is definitely like, it's definitely the area I'm looking to get buys in if we do get a pullback into here. And then as far as like sells to the upside, where I think this is going to be topping out, it's looking more and more likely. Obviously, right now, where we're at, we could top out. So I'll just put a little one right here. But typically, the longer you consolidate at a support or resistance, the more likely you are to break that support or resistance. So at this point in time, I would say the most likely area we're going to like top out, like the trend currently is up in this area. And it seems like this was just some violent, like massive move and everything, but when it's all said and done, all we are is basically like this is just a very strong support level. We consolidate on top, and then we spend a little time above it, consolidate back at it, spend a little time above it, spend a little time below it, consolidate at it, a little bit above it, sell back down through it. It seems like the end of the world, but now here we are, just kind of leveling out in the same area. So at this point in time, I think like basically like this is like the safety zone that Bitcoin's just kind of falling back to. So it's very likely that we could get a move up from here. It's very likely we could get a move down from here, but I would bet with almost certainty that we'll be revisiting this area, sometime in the next few months, no matter where we go from this, whether you're bullish or whether you're bearish, whether you think it's the end of the world or the beginning of the world for Bitcoin. I think it's very likely that we're going to end up right here in the same range, 3 months or 6 months or a year from now, and the way this is all shaping up on the macro, 6,200 would be the range to the downside. And you could say like to the upside, 9,600 is like the range, but this is where Bitcoin's spending most of the time, and this is where most of the volume's coming in as far as like trading overall and everything. But in all reality, we're basically in the middle of this range right here. If you're gonna say like 6,000 to like 9,000 is the range, we're right smack in the middle. So
Can go back and watch the video. Very clearly says not only where we're about to head, but that the longer we consolidate at a resistance or support, the more likely we are to break it. We continue to consolidate closer and closer and closer to the fib level, and then finally the very, very clear indication to the market should have been this first candle right here. But as soon as this one came in and we got the highest close and then we got follow through, most people would take a buy right here and set their stop loss before below the close of the previous candle. So then as soon as we step up here, you move your stop loss below the close of the previous candle, and then at that point in time, you're never even close to coming into danger. So we basically called that move out exactly. It did get front run by like $100, but I'm not that worried about calling out moves. If I'm gonna call out $1,000 moves, $2,000 moves within like $50 to $100, that's close enough for me. It's very clear that obviously my TA works, my indicators work. I'm not changing my strategy left and right. I'm not experimenting with new indicators that don't even make sense. I'm not trying to trick you guys into buying something. I have a very clear and very concise trading plan. I have a very clear set of indicators that function phenomenally. And then on top of that, I use candlestick and technical analysis to identify not only the psychology of the market, but I'm able to identify like the patterns that the bots and algorithms are using and fulfilling to basically just follow through on like the movements. So essentially, I very clearly state exactly what it is that I'm doing. That way you can see and learn from it. I understand that it's confusing at first and there are quite a few lines and it's hard to understand how I can call out these exact price movements to a T. But it's it's very clear that I do it. That's why I'm glad that I have this channel and these videos to document not only the price moves before they happen, but like the rise of of crypto trend trader empire. I'm yet to see anyone else's technical analysis come even close to this. If there's someone else that's doing it, I would love to see it because I'm interested to see like what methods and techniques they use. I'm not trying to float my own boat here. Everything is documented and clearly proved ahead of time. And again, I don't just like spam you guys with nonstop content just to get like clicks and likes and views. I put out meaningful, useful content, and I put it out loaded with information that you're not going to catch just watching through it one time. These videos are created and they're created on the fly. I don't write a script for them, and I share my actual knowledge and technical analysis with you. Each and every one is designed to help you not only see where price movements are going, but also to learn how it is that I identify those. And although they're not financial advice, I'm not your financial advisor. Markets are extremely volatile. Please do your own research, trade responsibly, but use these videos and indicators all as a tool that you put into your belt that allows you to tackle this market more aggressively and more confidence and more success. And if you'll see, just switching over to the indicators real quick, I want to look at the TJD, TD MACD, and this is the exact signature that I call out all the time, non-stop, for the absolute best move you can take. Okay, the initial entry is when we're underneath the slope line. We're underneath that, and we get two greens in a row. We take the trade. When it crosses above and turns this line blue, which in this case the line was able to stay blue, that's your second entry. And then obviously, we take the sell on two red histograms, and then when it gets all the way down here, when that red histogram goes to interact with the blue slope line, so we're on an upward slope and the histogram's coming down, that is always a massive support bounce. It is 99% of the time you get a massive move off of that, or at least an attempted rally that will fail, but it's often almost always a very powerful move. So there we got that, and opposite will happen the other way around. When you try to get above the red line, a lot of times you'll come from underneath and you'll get to it, and then you'll get rejected and you'll get that powerful bounce back down to the downside. So that is a very strong move, and very clear signature that we're always looking out for that pays dividends. So that was a perfect example of the TJD, TD MACD just doing absolutely phenomenally. And then as far as this topping out in here, obviously I didn't get greedy. I took profits at the top, currently in short positions, and basically planning on taking profits when we get back down to the retest right here, and then kind of playing it by ear after that. There's no reason for me at this point in time to get greedy in these markets. We've captured some phenomenal moves already, and with modest amounts of leverage, basically been able to double the account again, trading account again. So basically we're in a phenomenal position to continue just modestly making moves with modest amounts of leverage, and just growing our capital through all these financial hardships and struggles and everything, and just by identifying like key portions of the market moves, we're able to capture like this massive move right here. Basically just did 20% in like basically a day at 5x leverage. So essentially that's basically doubling your account. So yeah, nothing crazy. You don't have to get like ridiculous with the risk, but the reward is absolutely phenomenal. And now we can basically just relax and position ourselves for the next move. We are already set up for a short, assuming we get continuation to the downside right here. That will already have been basically our short entry was here. So that will be another like 9% move with again 5x leverage. It's another like 45%. Of that particular position, not the entire account in this case. But yeah, basically just going to continue making these intelligent moves and just calling out the market moves before they happen. We don't need to call every single micro move inside the market. You don't need to overcomplicate things with like options and all this ridiculousness that everybody's trying to use in the space. When you're in a trading range and you're like oscillating inside the range, often options can be useful. But basically, like in my opinion, typically, unless you're like super range trading, there's no reason to be using options. Typically, what options are for is people that have like kind of gotten castrated by the markets. They like lost their gusto and they're no longer able to commit to like up or down moves, because like as simple as it is, the market's either going to go up or down or sideways. So the options are designed for if the market goes sideways for like an extended period of time and you're on like high leverage, they essentially allow you to like protect your leverage position or not take a loss, like if the market doesn't break out, like if there is not volatility. That's typically what options are used for. So, that kind of makes sense a little bit inside a range like this, but not really to me. More seems like somebody that's just like not good at TA or just doesn't feel strongly or is scared to make a call and doesn't want to be wrong. This was very, very, very clearly getting ready to break to the upside. And then as soon as we saw like three white soldiers in a row, like three big green candles, like, engulfing, starting at like the close of the next candle, selling off like none, and then getting like progressively larger. It was very obvious that you shouldn't be in any kind of options or short trades. But it was very obvious before it actually happened, throughout this zone when we were consolidating, and that we were likely to come back up here and test the top of the range. Also with the sentiment in the space and everything. So um, it's becoming very, very clear in this space who has no idea what they're talking about and has just gotten lucky a couple times, or just kind of gotten like the bandwagon clicks or views or whatever. But people are starting to uh, you know, come apart at the seams and everything. And I think probably as a lot of their income dries up from like the suckers that are buying their like options programs and their like ridiculous indicators that they're not even using, I think it'll become like very clear, who is literally just a YouTube personality and doesn't have any clue what they're talking about, and who's actual like strong technical analysts in this space. And if we do get a long-term downtrend, I think we're going to be in a very, very clear space here as the sinking ship starts to get even more intense. So, but there you have it, guys. Just wanted to just do a little recoup video from last time, and just remind you guys that sometimes when I don't put out a fresh video, what you need to do is just go back and rewatch the last one, because chances are I'm not making a new one because nothing has changed and I've already spelled out very definitively where price action is going to go. And also, I am getting close to completing the free classes, and it has come to my attention that basically that while the free classes are definitely going to benefit a lot of people, that there are also people out there that are more interested in some other additional services and goods or whatever. So I may in the future provide some of those as well to a couple people, whether it's like like specific more in-depth learning, or classes. I don't know how I'm going to do it exactly. Really here more for the social aspect and documentation. And it's cool to build the channel and the community and everything like that. But I'm not necessarily here to just make money off of the community. And I do appreciate people that are sending crypto tips. That's pretty awesome. I'd rather if you just send like 10 or 20 bucks or whatever. It's cool when somebody sends over like $100 or more, but not necessary. Although it does go very much appreciated. I do appreciate that. So whoever sends that over, I don't necessarily know who it is, but thank you for the fat tips. It's always nice when I, just get a random balloon. So, but anyway, it's not necessarily. I do appreciate everything, community and everything. I hope that you guys are benefiting from this content, and very soon the classes will be available, and I'm super excited to share those with you guys. And I hope that your account has grown, especially recently, as mine has as well. And we'll be looking forward to this next move. So, Crypto Trend Trader, and I'm out of here.